Good morning. Sorry about the delay. We had some technical difficulties. Good morning. I'm Robert Stokes, Chairman of the Education, Workforce, and Youth Committee. Joining us today on this committee, Councilman Bullock from the 9th District, Councilman Cohen from the 1st District, Council Vice President Middleton from the 6th District, Councilwoman Porter from the 10th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Councilman Torrance from the 7th District. Also from City Council President's office is Ern G.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
From the Mayor's office, Nina Themlis and Sophia G. The committee staff person is Marguerite Kern. On the agenda today is Council Bill 22-0292, Elected Officials Retirement System Benefits Eligibility, for the purpose of modifying certain provisions of elected officials' retirement system of the City of Baltimore relating to eligibility for service, retirement benefits, and deferred vested benefits, making this ordinance contingent on the ratification of a certain city charter amendment by a certain date and providing for a special effective date. Also, the primary sponsor is President Mosby. We will be going over to agency reports. Law Department, can you identify yourself also?
Certainly. Elena DePietro from the Baltimore City Law Department. We looked at the original bill and have approved it for form and legal sufficiency. I understand there's amendment, which we could comment upon later.
Thank you. Employee retirement system.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Baltimore City Council. My name is David Randall. Do I get my report now? Or?
Go ahead.
My name is David Randall. I'm the Executive Director of the Employees Retirement System, Elected Officials, and the Retirement Savings Plan, City of Baltimore. I'm here with the Chair of our Board of Trustees, Ms. Deborah Moore Carter, as well as Nichelle Lashley, our Deputy Director, and Donna Bowen, our Senior Executive Assistant. The ERS-EOS Board of Trustees has voted to oppose City Council Bill 22-0292 in its current format. Our opposition is noted in our response. However, in summary, the board's role is to exercise due diligence and fiduciary responsibility over system assets. As such, the board was not provided enough time to conduct a comprehensive review to determine long-term effects of the bill on the EOS plan. The bill and market conditions have the potential to reduce the funding status to below 100%, at which time there will be a cost to the city. Going forward, the actuarial liability will continue to increase due to an earlier 8-year vesting period. Reducing the eligibility and vesting period for any defined benefit retirement system is detrimental to the sustainability of said system. The last change to Article 22 for EOS was in June 2016 for members on or after December 6. While it may not be unconstitutional, it is highly unusual for elected officials to enhance their benefits while in term. The bill would be for members as of December 1, 2022. While it hasn't been clearly defined when the question K term would begin if passed.
Sir, can you wrap that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on our findings, we will provide recommendations for cost-effective alternatives to the proposed bill.
So you oppose it?
We definitely oppose it.
Thank you. Retirement savings plan, no position?
Pardon me? No position.
Okay. City administrator opposes. Somebody from? You oppose the bill?
Yes.
Okay. Department of Finance opposes also?
Yes, opposed. And if I may, just a couple comments about our bill report. Bob Sanamy, representing Department of Finance. So this bill would, as was discussed, would change the eligibility from 12 years to 8 years. The actuary of the retirement system did the analysis, which makes sense. They're the closest. They have the fullest understanding of the system. As ERS mentioned, reducing the requirement in terms of years of service will have an impact on the system. The system is currently over 100% fully funded, but if you reduce the years of service, it can make a long-term change to the system that would mean that we would have to start picking up contributions again, as in the city general fund would have to start picking up contributions again. We understand the intent of the bill in context of the term limits. I mean, it does make sense that if there is something passed on term limits, that we'd want to come back and look at this and make sure that we have a reasonable benefit for elected officials. But I would just echo what the ERS system said. We would just like some additional time to develop those alternative scenarios. We think there's a way to meet the intent of the bill and also protect the city if we have a little bit more time to review this and really analyze it.
Thank you. The CAO, could you identify yourself from the CAO office so we have you on record? I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is Naila Magwood Phoenix. I'm the Assistant City Administrator for Employment and Labor Relations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any of the council members have any questions? Councilman Cohen from the 1st District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the agency folks that are here today. So totally understand some of the concerns about feeling rushed to produce a report and some of the fiscal implications that it could have. I am curious, though, and I'm not sure whether this is for you or Mr. Seneme, if Question K passes, then elected officials will be limited to 2 terms. So if we reject this proposal and don't do something in exchange of it, we will essentially be eliminating pensions for elected officials. So I'm curious if that is the intent of your opposition or if there's an alternative that you envision that we could reach.
Yes, it's a good question. We actually propose, if this bill this Question K does pass, that you give us an opportunity to give you some proposals on the most cost-effective benefit for elected officials who only will have 8 years of service. It could come back to be, right now, it's just to be a return to contributions and interest. We could come up with a formula to give you, a benefit, perhaps start it at a later date instead of age 55, make it 62 or 65, whichever, proposal that's most cost-effective for both EOS plan and the city of Baltimore. We just need an opportunity to come up with some type of benefit if that Question K does pass.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're not necessarily opposed to a pension for elected officials. It's more you want more time to do an analysis and figure out.
Absolutely. What's the most equitable and cost-effective benefit that we could still provide those members who only have the 8 years of service?
Because, I mean, the bottom line is if this does pass and if it's not overturned, it will be 8 years for everyone. So it's not going to be a situation where maybe I do 8, maybe I do 12, maybe I do 16. It'll be 8 for everybody.
Well, it's very possible, depending on if they develop a clear and concise law from that Question K. There could be a scenario that you be in elected officials for 2 terms, wait a term, and then come back. So your time is continuous. So you would still fall under the 12-year vested period or 16 years. So, or you could get a job with the city, working in the ERS, purchase the time. So there's just a couple of different variables that could, happen to those elected members who, after their 2nd term, perhaps go to work for the city for 4 years, come back and be elected again. There's,
Gotcha.
But the actuary would need the demographics and those type of scenarios in order to give us some type of cost, what it would cost the system to have a benefit of that nature.
Okay, thank you for that. Bob, is that where you're at too?
Yes, that sums it up. We're not saying that there shouldn't be a pension for elected officials. pension is part of a compensation package, so when we're trying to attract people to city employment or to run for office, obviously we want to have something in place, but it's more the time to develop something that would work. Just reducing from 12 to 8 can have a significant impact on a small system like this, so just want to have the time to be able to present back options that we think would be more cost-effective for the city. But no, we're not saying that we shouldn't have a EOS system at all. That's certainly not what we're saying.
Got it. Okay.
Right. And also, if I may add, the system won't go away. We still have over 40 retirees, past mayors, past city council members, and so forth. They will continue to receive a benefit, but it's just those new members. As when the city changed, Pension Reduction Act back in 2014, it was just for those people or employees who came to work after December of 2014. They just were put into another system. So we'll have to develop something similar to that.
Gotcha.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment. I don't think no council person over here thought that 3 terms would be good for elected officials. This happened suddenly. It happened suddenly. We did not know this was happening. I'm sure my colleagues can say that. But if we talk about having young people that want to run for office, and you tell them you get 2 terms and you don't have a retirement, and then come back and run for another position, how do we get young people that we want to be involved, run for office, be involved, when they look at that and say, okay, I do 2 terms, I did 8 years in elected official position, and I don't have a retirement. And I think the reason why this bill is here is because we didn't ask for 2 terms. We didn't ask for 2 terms. And I'm sure the rest of my colleagues, we didn't ask for it. It happened, so we got to make sure it's balanced the same way as the 2-term retirement as it was the 3-term retirement. Councilwoman, did you have a comment?
No, I don't have a comment, sir, but I just want to ask a clarifying question. So essentially, you would have a 3-tiered system, grandfather 2014, and then ones after question K. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And the way this bill was proposed, it was adding this 8-year term
Yes.
into the 2nd tier of the provision in EOS. If you look at the bill, it says for those members who came after 2016
Yes.
or December 1, 2022. So it lumped it with that.
encapsulating them
Yeah,
into
we
that.
would want to take that out and add another subsection
Okay.
for those members who were elected after December 6, 2024.
Okay.
And the other thing is just the question K is not really clear on when this term will begin. So it's very difficult for us to cost it out if we really don't know exactly what the parameters of the law is going to be.
Sure, but typically ballot questions kind of initiate at the top of the next cycle.
Absolutely.
So, okay. All right.
But
thank
also keep in mind that when you guys can do a bill and amendment to Article 22, you can make the effective date for members after a certain time or before a certain time. You have that right to do that.
Yeah.
So you're not locked in to that. But we would only suggest that you would make it for members who were elected based on the law, elected after December 6, 2024, which is the next election.
But correct me if I'm wrong, and Elena, maybe you can comment on this. Does the state law supersede our, like, if we do something at the council, does the state law supersede our law?
Well, there's no state law involved here. It's the charter and the code. The charter would supersede local law to the extent there was any conflict. But in this case, the AG has chimed in about the effect of the charter amendment because elections are generally the province of the state. So in the AG's opinion, this law would start applying to everybody, whether they are incumbents or newly seeking office in 2024. So everybody would be on a level playing field going forward. That does not mean that current city council members would not get credit for their previous service as far as the retirement system is concerned. So there's sort of 2 different questions, but I think that
So one is being vested, having that time accrued, and then the other is when the pension.
how that affects their retirement, yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize a member of the committee, Councilman Glover from the 13th District. And I just want to make one more comment, is the people of Baltimore City voted us in office they should still have the right to voters in and voters out. That's my comment. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, there's an amendment on your desk that was presented by President Mosby. I know. So we're going to vote on the amendment unless Mr. Aaron, you have any comments you want to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The amendment is just to clarify that this will apply to currently serving elected officials, as well as like the conversation described, those going forward and who will be elected after.
Thank you. Is there a motion to vote on the amendment? Is there a motion to vote on the amendment?
Motion to move.
Motion made by Council Vice President. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Glover. Stokes says a yes. Councilman Bullock? Yes. Councilman Cohen?
Could I ask a clarifying question? I know we're trying to vote, but is it possible to ask a question? Just trying to totally understand.
Councilman, is a yes or no? We voting on the amendment. You can explain it, but it's a yes or no?
All right. I guess the thing that I'm struggling with a little bit is hearing from the different agencies, like.
Councilman, this is a yes or no? That's
All right.
that's
then
all we
I'm
ask.
gonna be. Right. Yeah. Yes, but then we'll appreciate a chance to ask a couple more questions after. So yes.
Okay. Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilwoman Middleton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Porter? Councilman Torrance? The motion passed. Is there a motion to vote on Council Bill 22-092?
Could I ask a question of the agencies before we entertain a motion?
Sure.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again. So I'm curious, and maybe this is for Mr. Graffenright, like would it make a difference if we do this before question K is voted on or after? Like, just trying to understand kind of the urgency and trying to balance, like, I want to make sure we get this right and don't in any way jeopardize city finances, while at the same time, I think the case for us redoing our pension system is clear. So I guess I'm curious the urgency of, like, why do we need to do it now, or could this wait until, I don't know, Bob and the agencies have an opportunity to present some options?
Well, thank you, Councilman Cohen. I think the purpose of getting the bill put forward now is to have the fuller reality of what what voting on, approving or disapproving question K would have, for not just the public, but also for the council. So hearing the opposition from the agencies, my understanding, as you all engage in a little bit more of a discussion today, is that some of the changes, some of the equations to make the numbers work, that's something that sounds to me to be still available, even if this current version of the bill passes. For example, as Mr. Randall described, and Ms. Enemy described, that there are different ways to arrange the pension tiers and things like that they might be able to enact within the framework that this legislation would allow. So it's sort of the other side of the coin of your question, in that the options to make the equations work are still available, is my understanding from the report and from their testimony today, though we fully understand and appreciate the desire to have to be able to let everything pass or not pass as it may be, for them to work on those options under the current status quo. But our position is that it's equally as important just to get it set so that everyone understands, because as you described in your questions to him, it's almost a certainty that if question K were to pass, that this legislation or something extremely similar to that is going to be necessary to allow for elected officials to qualify for a pension under the term limit system, if that were to pass. So again, it's our position that it's important to get this done now so that the reality of the whole set of circumstances is in place, and it does not, my understanding, does not overly constrict the options for the retirement system to make the numbers and the equations work.
Okay, appreciate that. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Randall and Mr. Senemy and Elena?
I'd just like to add that with the law department, I don't know about the other agencies, but we just got the amendment late last night and have had little time to digest it. So although we approved the original bill, I don't know with this amendment whether we still approve it. I have to look it over more carefully. I don't think there's any particular urgency to pass this today, because it's not effective till 24, and we do have time, 2 years, to perfect it in a way that it will be beneficial to everybody, both current elected officials and those that are coming new to the party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just ask Mr. Randall to react as well?
Okay, we want to move on. Councilman, go ahead. You got your last question. Go ahead.
I want to understand whether your understanding was the same, that within the parameters, if we pass this bill, that you would have options to tier the different pensions, as Mr. DeGraffenreich said?
Yes, that's our perspective as well. 2024, we will have until then to adopt whatever it is. So the urgency, in our opinion, is not urgent, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Just for the record, there were no one to testify, public or virtually at all also. So is there a motion to vote on Council Bill 22-092? Motion made by Councilman Glover. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Council Vice President Stokes is a yes. Councilman Bullock? Aye. Okay. Councilman Cohen?
Explain my vote, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Completely understand the intent of what we're attempting to do, and I think it's valid. I think I tend to agree with the agencies that I'd like to have them a little more involved in the conversation around what the different options could look like, just out of concern for what the fiscal picture looks like for the city. So I'm going to vote no, but certainly appreciate the intent of the legislation, and it is clear that one way or another we need to have a viable pension system that works for elected and non-elected officials for the city of Baltimore. I vote no.
Thank you. Councilman Glover?
Yes.
Councilwoman Middleton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Porter?
Yes.
Councilman Torrance?
No.
This motion passed. The bill will be placed on second read on Monday, November the 7th, 2022. Thank everyone for attending.